All right, today I want to show you our new rabbit enclosure, how we take care of our rabbits and what our system is and where we keep them in different seasons of the year. So this is our bunny Bob. Hi Bob. And this is our bunny Peter. Hi Peter. They are both boys and they have been with us about 5 years. We got them from a breeder. Bob is a bit smaller if you can't tell from the video. And so up to this point, we have been, we've tried a few cages. We went from a plastic rabbit cage with the wires, and then that got chewed up, and we just moved on to an enclosure inside the house that was made of like a plastic, and you kind of put it together like a puzzle. And they scratched that up. It also was slightly raised off the ground that their little poos could just go right under it. And the clips started breaking. It was just not practical for us. Bob over here could also jump out of it. And so then we bought a hutch, and we've been keeping that in the garage because it was the cooler part of the year in Florida. It gave me a little break also, so I wasn't having to clean the litter pan every day or twice a day. And so now it's getting warmer. So it's like, okay, I threw out that old enclosure. I need something else. And I was on the hunt. I found something really neat from Clearly Love Pets, but it was just more than I wanted to spend. I finally found this enclosure on Amazon. And with tax, it was on sale and it came to $200. So it's a bit of an investment, but still reasonable for something that's so beautiful and sturdy. It's made of like an aluminum frame metal and plexiglass. I'm thinking it's pretty scratch resistant. We'll find out if that is the case. I Googled it myself and it sounded like it's likely going to be pretty scratch resistant. It's got all these hinges that connect it. It can actually go into like a different shape, like more of a rounded shape if you want it to. For me, the rectangle worked well. It comes with 6 panels, one of the panels being the door. And I like that I can open it up and just leave it open if we are wanting them to exercise, making sure all the cords and things are tucked up because Mr. Peter over here, he loves to chew. And they can run back in and use their litter pan, which is new for us because our other enclosure didn't have a door. It's definitely, this is a superior setup and I'm excited about it. I also like that even though there are some cracks between here that a poo could slide out of it, you know, it's not really very likely if you keep it swept especially, but there's like, it comes flat to the floor. So my last enclosure, it was on little feet. And so there was a tiny, tiny space all around the perimeter and their little poos would just slide right under it, which was very inconvenient. I'm really enjoying this enclosure. And then I also got these mats on Amazon. It was a pack of 2. And I was really careful to figure out what was the measurement of this enclosure and to get a mat slightly bigger that comes around the edges. And it's working really well so far. I've only had them in here a couple days. And it's washable, of course. I might have to put like a plastic garbage bag underneath it, one of those big black ones, just to be sure, because I haven't tested if it's really waterproof. I will say if you don't have experience with rabbits, they're usually really good about peeing in their litter pan, but they just poop all the time. And so regardless, you're going to be sweeping those poos. But the good thing is if you do see little spots, I mean, I'm hoping that's not pee, but if it is, that's the hope, is that you have something waterproof just in case. Now for those little poos, they send you a broom and a little dustpan. I have one for the garage cage, and that's kind of been a great system, just sweeping up. But I'm glad I have a fresh one for inside. And so I just sweep them up and put them into the litter pan, and then I try to change that litter pan at least once a day. The enclosure also came with these handy dandy bags. You kind of just stretch them, and they have, you can see these elastics, and they fit nice and snug right around that litter pan, and it even comes with a grate. Now, let me clarify, this feeding trough for the hay, the food bowl, water bowl, and the litter pan did not come with the enclosure. I'll have a separate link for that. I really like this because rabbits pretty much just keep going and going. So if they're, you know, eating and they're already sitting on their litter pan, less of those little poos are going to be in the cage and hopefully more of them in the litter pan. I originally thought that I needed to keep the food and the litter pan on 2 different sides of the cage because some people, you know, will say, oh, rabbits like to separate those areas, which makes sense to me. I wouldn't want to go in the bathroom in the same place I eat, but rabbits, at least mine, don't seem to mind. And obviously, the people who made this little food setup realize that's also true. And so it's working out. And it saves space because I have it all in one side. And then on this side of the cage is their sleeping area. Just pulled their other bed out. So I got a 2-pack of these little soft beds. And I got 2, and I was very concerned that Mr. Peter over here was just going to chew them both up. But what really happened is, I guess, you know, they're pretty, well, I just learned Bob can clear this if he really wants to. I just had to pause the video and separate my rabbits. They get along pretty well, but since I've put them in the new cage, it's kind of like they're establishing their territory, and they've also have more space. So I've been kind of giving them space from each other sometimes. So Mr. Peter just got put in the hutch in the garage. It's a nice cool day, so he'll be fine. Anyways, so I have these 2. I have a green one and a gray one. You can see it's already been chewed up a bit. That was probably Peter, but that is actually Bob's bed. And it was really interesting because I realized they're really smart, because I put the 2 beds in the hutch in the garage, and I introduced him to the gray one and Peter to the green one. And I noticed that they kind of stuck with the beds that I introduced them to. And Mr. Peter, the brown one who loves to chew, has obliterated his bed. But interestingly, you can see that he's only chewed this one a little bit, and it's like he knows it's Bob's bed. And I think the reason he chewed it is because I recently removed his bed because of how damaged it was, and put a little box in its place that he could just chew up. And so he's probably like, I really like chewing up beds, so you removed mine. So I'll probably put it back in there, just let him finish obliterating it. And then I also have this wooden bed, since his bed is obliterated. I like this little wooden house because if they do chew it, it's not as unsightly as getting these ones chewed up, and they can't destroy it as quickly. What I didn't like about it is that it comes apart like a puzzle really easily. They can just smash it open. So I had to glue it together, and I just did that this morning, and we will see if that hot glue holds it together. All right, we added some fun new toys. This is a modern rabbit toy, a seagrass basket that hangs with little tassels on the sides and wood, and some fun little toys inside. And then I ordered some seagrass mats. It came in a pack. You can buy them in a pack of 2 to like 25, and I think I got a pack of like 5 or 8 of them. I can't remember now. So I have one for each of my rabbits, and Bob's bed was just sent to wash. They were claiming dominance, and I think it was a little wet. So now I want to talk to you about our little routines for care as well as for living. So these handy dandy bags, and when I run out, I think I will invest in more, because they make the litter pan stay much cleaner. And you stretch them open, and it has an elastic that keeps it nice and tight around here. Now I will notice Mr. Peter, my chew boy, will start chewing right here, but if you change it, you know, every day, it won't get chewed up enough to where it'll compromise the bag, and then you can just pull it out, and your litter pan the plastic doesn't get ruined, because if they just go straight to that little pad, which I'll give a link to that. I buy these dog pee pads. I find that's much easier to clean and less messy than like litter for rabbits and pellets. But if I just had that in there without the plastic, you know, even though it's absorbent, and even if I put 2 in there, sometimes pee seeps around, and then that plastic gets kind of nasty, and it's a lot more work, because then you got to scrub it or rinse it, or eventually just buy a new one. So I do highly recommend these bags at this point from my experience in the last 2 days. And putting a grocery shopping bag, I've tried that. It just doesn't cut it, because it doesn't stay nice around there. And if you have a rabbit who just likes messing with the plastic, you know, it just makes it worse. So our care routine is to change this at least once a day. And how I keep, you know, the house extra fresh, even with a rabbit inside, is keeping an oil diffuser going in the day. And this one has pretty lights on it also. And you can set it to go up to 6 hours at a time, and put your water in there and some drops of oil. And it kind of just keeps you from smelling any residual smells. And I will say, keeping the litter pan changed once or twice a day pretty much does it also, even if you don't have a diffuser. The other key would be keeping the mats washed maybe once a week, and any soft beds. And of course, if they do happen to get pee on wood, well, it's going to hold that odor. But so far, I haven't had an issue with them peeing on the wood, but I'm not sure eventually if it could start getting stinky. And of course, every day I change out the water and I add food. I will throw in any extra little vegetables sometimes. They need about 80% hay, and the rest would be these pellets and fresh fruits or vegetables, which I don't give them every day, but there's a fun rabbit list online of things they can eat, and knowing not what to give them and how much. And of course, rabbits need their nails clipped, and I just kind of, as I see their nails getting long, I go ahead and clip them. So I will probably keep them in here year round, or if I feel like we want a little break, especially when the Christmas tree comes in at Christmas time and I need to shift furniture around, maybe I will put them out in the hutch again. Or this is a pretty sturdy setup. So honestly, I don't think I see myself wanting to take it apart every year during the cooler months to put them in the hutch permanently. I think it's probably gonna end up staying here now that I have an enclosure I love, and a good system for keeping it hygienic and not smelling. And I think that the hutch is gonna work well if we go on vacation, because I can set that up. It has a tray under it, so if there's extra poo or pee and someone's not coming every day to change it, it won't be a big deal. Whereas in here, I don't know. And also, I did find out Bob, he is a champion hopper. All right, so I lift one corner at a time, push the mat corner out from under, and then put a block in its place. And I do that for all four corners. And, before or after that, I'm just cleaning, because what I noticed about that litter pan is there's no lip on it. So they can put their butt right so much into the corner that it actually goes over the litter pan and onto here, and it got some pee on the mat as well. So I'm gonna have to problem solve with that. But now the idea is, because there's a crack, I can slide the new mat under here, and then remove one corner at a time, and as I put the corner down, because this is enclosures, kind of heavy and awkward to deal with. So having these little blocks seems like my initial reaction of how to deal with changing out the mat. That worked well. I slid the new mat underneath and one corner at a time, positioned it, and removed the block. Definitely for me alone, to move this to another location off of the old mat and then to place it on top of the new mat is probably doable if I lifted one side at a time, then went to the other side and moved it over and kind of shimmied it over. But since I already had these blocks, that was what felt like the easiest method to me, and it went pretty quickly. Right, there is the finished product, and I decided to put the plastic not only over the plastic tray itself that fits into the wood tray, but over the wood and the plastic. So let me show you. There's a wood frame that can nail into this if you want it to, and into the bowl as well. And then the plastic litter pan goes into that. And then, so anyway, I put the plastic over the wood as well, because they'll put their coolie right up there. That's what my husband, he's Puerto Rican, calls a butt a coolie. And pee right over the side. So I need to find a way to put some kind of like the other litter pans that have a high side, to put something like that into the corner if that's possible. I found this random piece of cardboard from my kids' craft kit, and I'm not going to tell them I'm using it because they colored on it, and I love them, but I don't know. It's going to end up in the trash anyway. Hopefully they don't notice. Maybe we can say, thanks for decorating that cardboard for the rabbit cage. It has a purpose. Okay, but maybe I can, if this works, I can find or fold a piece of cardstock and just create a barrier so they can't push their butt over the edge and pee onto this metal lip right there. And so we'll see if that works, or I could even tuck it behind the metal. In short, I really highly recommend this setup. I absolutely love it, and that's why I'm sharing it with you, because it took me a lot of time to find something I loved that was not so expensive. Again, yes, it's an investment, but it's not much more than, it might be less than some of your average hutches or rabbit cages. So, and it is beautiful. Don't you agree? So if you also love this enclosure and are ready to switch it up, or if you're about to buy rabbits and you decide to get this, please let me know if this video helped you. Now let me do some chatting about rabbit mom guilt, okay? So I know this looks amazing, but I haven't always taken as good care of my bunnies as this. It's been a process over the 5 years we've had these bunnies. And I know bunnies don't live forever, but we've had them a long time, and I wanted to do well by them, but also knowing that even if they might we don't know how long they're going to live. You know, I think they say 5 to 8 years. I can't remember. Um, I know that we enjoy bunnies enough that we probably get more and be able to reuse this. So hopefully they have many more months and years ahead of us. We've really loved them, even through some of the difficulties. Like I said, I've had other enclosures that didn't work as well. I haven't always been very good at keeping their litter pans super clean. I do find, obviously, when I've had them in the hutch in the garage, it's really convenient as a busy mom of three who also works from home that I don't change it every day. Sometimes I've gone days without changing it, maybe once a week. And they've endured that. And I haven't always had a bed for them because I felt like everything I bought would get chewed up. But I've, like I said, introducing them each to their own bed and just learning as I go has made me able to give them a better life. And yeah, so if you don't have the perfect setup and things are a bit messy and crazy and you don't let your rabbits out to exercise enough, well, neither do I. I think now I'm going to be able to let them exercise more. I've always had a plan to let them run around and exercise more, but it requires some supervision, and we just haven't always had time every day to do that. So no guilt here, ladies and gentlemen, whoever's watching this video. Enjoy your rabbits and just do your best in each season and, you know, grow as you have your rabbits.